So why is a solid EdTech foundation important? Why does it matter? Why do our students need to have skills and competencies with educational technology or technology in general so that they are ready for their future? So, educational technology isn't about doing more. It's about having a look at what we're already doing and seeing what we can do better. So, a working knowledge of some of these common tools can really help you and other educators save time, personalize learning, provide timely feedback, and create really inclusive classrooms. So, this is why it's so important that you and I have a solid understanding and foundation of educational technology. So when we choose our tools intentionally, they can help us reduce our workloads. We can support diverse learners. We can help students build essential digital capabilities that they are going to need for their life beyond school. I want you to think about this. I want you to think about the lives, the futures of our young people. Pop on your tomorrow glasses, because they're going to go into a world that is different to the world that you and I probably grew up in. We didn't fall out of the womb with so much technology embedded into our lives, but the young people that we teach today, they do. They essentially come out of mum and they are ready and raring to immerse themselves in that technology. So that's why we need, as an educator, that solid foundation, that solid understanding as to how we can implement and use this in the classroom. So let's have a look at some facts about EdTech in the classroom. All right, number one, technology itself does not improve learning. It's the pedagogy that does this. So just because we're using technology doesn't mean that is going to improve our students' learning. So research consistently shows that learning improves when technology is used intentionally to support clear learning goals, not when it is used as a replacement for good teaching. So technology is not just there for the fun of it. Technology needs to be used. It needs to have a purpose. It needs to have a clear intention. So that is the first fact about why we need to be looking at EdTech in the classroom. Number two, students engage more when they can interact, not just consume. So digital tools that allow students to create, collaborate, respond, or make choices lead to higher engagement than passive screen-based activities. So just using that presentation in class and getting your students to write the notes down word for word off that screen is not going to be beneficial. We need our young people to be interacting when they are using that technology, developing those skills that are going to be vital for their world after they have finished their educational journey. All right, our next reason, timely feedback has a greater impact than the format it is delivered in. So whether or not feedback is written, audio, video, digital, speed and clarity matter. And that is so important when we are looking at educational technology. How can we actually provide our students with feedback that is timely, that is accessible, that is also sustainable? And there's so many ways that we can do that now with the assistance of educational technology. Reason number four, accessibility features benefit far more students than those they were designed for. So we know that accessibility is something that's so important so that every single one of our students can access their learning. And now we have tools like captions, text to speech, voice typing. We have visual supports. All of these different things support and improve learning for all students, not just those students who might have particular disabilities or require specific adjustments. These tools can actually be beneficial for all of the students in our classes. So you really need to think about why and how we can use these to benefit every single learner in our classroom. All right, let's have a look at our next idea here. Students are often confident users of technology, but not critical users. Now, this is an interesting statement just here, because I would probably say that our young people are not always necessarily confident users of technology. They might appear to be confident users, but I don't think that they necessarily have the skills and capabilities to be able to use EdTech and technology in general confidently for some of them. It's just something I want you to think about. So, being familiar with apps and devices does not automatically mean students understand how to evaluate information, collaborate effectively, or use digital tools responsibly. So, I think that's something that we really need to think about is because just because a young person knows how to use their mobile phone doesn't necessarily correlate with the fact that they are evaluating information, collaborating effectively, or even using digital tools responsibly and ethically. So, just something I want you to think about there. Our next idea here is that technology can reduce teacher workload when it replaces tasks, not adds to them. Great point. So, EdTech is most effective when it streamlines marking, organization, feedback, or communication rather than creating additional steps. There's no point us using technology in the classroom or as a teacher if it's actually going to make our workload harder and more difficult. Our next point here about EdTech in the classroom is that EdTech can increase that motivation through different choices that we might make available to our students. So, digital tools make it easier to offer choice in how students access information and demonstrate learning, which increases that engagement as well as that autonomy and ownership over what they are doing, how they are creating their artifact or evidence, and how they're going to present and deliver that to us. So, EdTech is so good in helping increase that motivation through different choice options. And our final fact about EdTech in the classroom is that consistency matters more than complexity. Consistency is something that you'll always hear in the school world in general, but a small number of well understood tools used consistently across a classroom has a greater impact than constantly introducing new platforms. I absolutely agree with this. Yes, I love educational technology. I love using it in my classroom, but it doesn't mean that when I find something new, it automatically is something that is part of my day to day EdTech toolkit. It might be something that I try, it might be something that I experiment with, but I need to make sure that it is being used for the right purpose. And I'm not just introducing these new tools for no particular point or reason. So there are just 8 reasons and 8 facts about EdTech in the classroom. EdTech is so important. I don't want you to ever write it off because if you write EdTech off and using technology, you're doing a disservice to your young people because they're not going to have the skills and capabilities that they need for their future. Because remember, their future is going to be very different to your particular experiences when you were at school. So remember, it's about our students, not about you.